This is the Team Objection Podcast for January 25th, 2022, episode 514. For the visual folks who are on the YouTubes, you might have an inkling of where we're heading with this. The title of the episode's also on there. But two of the four panelists have Captain America vibranium shields on their chest. So we don't have a lot of time to dick around. The rankings are going to take a while, but we are going through and basically giving Dave the recommendations he needs to finally, I think, actually go through and watch more of the MCU.
I've been wanting to do this forever. I've been talking about it. We've done this off air probably 3 different times.
Mm-hmm.
Now is the time we've gathered all our rankings. We're going to make it official. We're going to go through. We're going to end up rating all the movies, but we're going to say which ones are definitive, necessary for Dave to watch, and which ones can he skip. And thus, give a beginner's guide to people who have been too intimidated to get into the series.
I did my rankings very quickly, so we'll see how bad.
Great. The way to undersell it from the word go.
I'm just saying.
So the fun part about this is that this was spawned, as Sean has said, we've done this at least 3 times before, and it's been updated as new movies come out. Secondarily, I get to just sit here and listen, basically. So this is gonna be.
You gotta ask questions. That's the whole point.
I'm usually good at that, picking sad information. And thirdly, I feel like this was spawned for the fact that I actually saw a Marvel movie before Chris did, because I saw Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah, so Sean has a ranking for every movie. Cody and I are missing 2. I'm missing the 2 most recent ones because I haven't been to a movie theater since last May, and Cody's missing 2 Spider-Mans.
Because fuck Spider-Man.
So I should get any tiebreakers because
hold on.
I've seen them all.
You said... Oh no, Cody. That's like the only reason I would care, like a big reason I care to watch Marvel movies, because Spider-Man.
Too many Spider-Man movies. Too many Spider-Man movies.
Also, I have to do an Arby's review really quick. Cody went out of his way to get me what is this? I don't even know what it is.
It is a classic beef and cheddar.
Review it on air. This is great ads for Arby's.
It is a bun,
I hope they
and then it is some cheese sauce and some roast beef.
You can really tell the sandwich artisan took their time with this one.
Make sure you get the beef. Wait, do you have Arby's sauce for him?
There's Arby's sauce in the bag.
Is there anything in it but
there's
roast beef and a bun?
Beef and like nacho cheese, basically, and sauce.
Arby's doesn't really put a lot of other stuff on their burgers.
They have the meats, Sean. They have nothing else.
I see the meat is on the thing, but that's about all I see. The bun is nice.
Okay. The bun looks good.
It's an onion bun. It's very good.
Yeah. Let me finish it, and I'll give my review at the end.
This is the one time that you have to actually eat on air. There's no way around it. If you don't like it, then it's unavoidable. If
he hates it, I'm going to finish it.
Yeah, Paul Hollywood can eat on the air.
There's fries. There's fries in the bag. Don't put them on the ground.
I'm not gonna. What do you want to put them?
On the table that we're sitting at.
All right.
God.
So
it's kind of sweet. It's pretty good, actually.
We can move past this particular slide. Let me fix some things in the background while you're doing this, and I'll vamp too. It's all great.
It is not the best fast food.
Vamp for you,
but it is not terrible fast food by any stretch.
No.
There we go.
That's all Dave and
but
I
still
really
don't know
needed.
what this beats out. You know what I mean? Oh, you did a tier system, Chris.
Oh, I did a whole bunch of work on this. You'll
like
see in a minute. Oh, hold on.
So was it good that I sent mine in at 2:00 or 3:00?
Yeah, I said I wanted them by 7 when I was leaving the house for a couple meetings, and I would not have had time to do all this. So good thing it was before 7.
Luckily, because I'm a fucking loser, I had already had them all pretty much ordered. I just had to give them a number.
Like I said, I had a pretty good vibe of it, but I had to rush, and then I went back and looked at it before I sent it over, and I was like, okay, I fucked up on a couple things.
Yeah, let's see how wrong you guys were.
This is great. I can take a screenshot of this at one time and be like, here it is.
All right,
boom.
I got
in
my
addition to
on
that,
my phone.
So there's a couple things we'll do at the end here, but here's what's happening, basically, especially for the viewers as well. The 3 of us who have seen almost all the MCU movies, or all the MCU
I've
movies,
seen them all.
Have given everything a score of 1 to 10 on 2 factors. 1, how good it is, and 2, how vital it is. And there is definitely a divide on a few of these, as we'll see as we get into the results, where one might be really good viewing, but it just doesn't matter in the grand scheme of the MCU and the big picture. And some of them might be like really a bad movie, but unfortunately it's got a couple vital moments, and thus you still kind of have to watch it even though it may not be so good.
Yeah, and I even put some that I think are vital just because they're awesome. May or may not have characters or items that appear again, but I just think you absolutely have to watch it because it's the best you're going to get in this universe. So
I definitely could not remember which post-credit scene teased what was attached to what movie, so I didn't really include that. I might have screwed up on some of them of oh shit, if you didn't watch that movie, you missed the post-credit scene that led into whatever other
see.
movie.
We'll get into it.
But we'll see.
I didn't even factor those in.
Cool, good.
Because I thought it was sort of unfair to include those. I just judged the movie on their merit and assumed that, like, yes, there are some important post-credit scenes, but they can't be so important that if you miss them, you have no clue what's happening. Maybe it's a tease or like a reveal, but it's not like you're going to come into like the first of the two Avengers final movies and be like, wait, who's Thanos? I don't think that's going to happen because he comes up in other stuff, right?
So, will I get to provide scores / recommendations on the 4 that I have seen?
Sure.
I was planning on it, yeah. So
sure.
just chime in when the time comes.
Well, 3, I guess. I've seen 3.5. I've only seen the first half of
Okay,
Iron
so I
Man.
get bogged down in the details.
Yeah. So we're going to be flying through these. We have talked at length about, especially the first phase of the MCU when it wrapped up with the second Avengers movie. This is not going to be an in-depth discussion because there's 27 or whatever movies to go through, so we can only really spend a minute or two on each. If you want the more in-depth stuff, we have it back in our catalog. You can go find it. So we're going to be doing this way, basically. These are listed in chronological order of release at the bottom. I've arranged them that way. They didn't come that way. So we're going to go through them in the order of release because for the most part, almost all of that is also chronological.
I like that.
And then we're going to toss them into the tier list based on where the three of us ranked them on a combined basis of both how good it is and how vital. So this is basically a tier list that's based on what is the most important things you need to see in the MCU. And again, maybe you got a really good score as far as how good it was, and then a bad, important score. We'll talk about what got into the score. I have all the averages here from all of us. We'll talk about it. But just know that that's what the basis of this is. Both how good it is and how important it is.
If I rated -6, I don't know if you're actually going to see the score, Chris. A 6 on vital means I think it's vital. Anything under 6, to varying degrees, but I don't think is vital. So I don't think we'll get that much into the weeds, but...
No, and keep in mind, too, just as one last note before we start, I think, at least for my list, things that I rated like a 2 aren't trash movies, but it's a sliding scale based on the MCU's pretty high pedigree. So I'm not saying like, oh, that's a 2 because it's garbage and it's unredeemable, but compared to some of the excellent movies in the series, doesn't really pass muster.
All right.
Okay.
I like your banner.
So...
Just seeing it now.
Yes. So... Iron Man 1 kicks us off in 2008.
Same year that The Dark Knight came out.
Which was better.
It was better, but not by a lot.
That's harsh. And our results put it into the second tier. I'm in the window that I'm broadcasting from. There we go.
Oh, this is combined, though.
This is combined.
Okay.
All three of our aggregate averages in watchability and importance.
So, Dave, I think this one's pretty vital. Kicks everything off, sets the tone, introduces you to the principal character for 3/4 of the whole thing.
Yep. I remember watching this and thinking that, man, these special effects are really good. Like, this looks really realistic. It was, that was kind of that transition phase of early 2000s where it was all CGI and you could tell it was CGI to, ooh, this looks realistic. So I appreciate it for that.
A lot of practical effects.
Yeah.
Is that all your...
I don't like Iron Man a whole lot.
Great. No wonder it's only in the really good tier.
I mean, I put it as you really need to watch it. I think I put like a 7 or an 8 on it. I don't remember. I don't really like Iron Man as a character a whole lot, so I don't need to shit all over him for a bunch of time yet.
Cody's 4 in watchability definitely dragged down the average.
Oh my god!
Yeah, that's right.
And we'll show. I have a whole spreadsheet too. We'll show that at the end.
And then you shit all over me.
So you can that I don't think it would have made it into the next tier regardless, even if you gave it like a 7. The next
a 6 would have been
top
as
tier
high as I
is
could go.
Pretty high company.
I mean, it's the thing that started off, and then, you're the one who rated off post-credit scenes, and this one has a
I
huge
said I
one.
didn't take that into account at
Oh,
all.
I thought you said you
I said
did.
I couldn't
All
remember
right.
which one was attached to what, so I couldn't include that.
And how could you at this point? There's so many.
Exactly.
Especially because some have multiple. There's a mid-credit in a lot of them. It's just, ugh. Incredible Hulk.
The other thing I'll say really quick, Dave, in this movie, he outs his identity, which is like a huge deal for superhero movies at this time.
Mhm.
He gets a thing in his chest that
Yep, I
sticks
remember.
around for a while. So, like, there are some things that actually do linger into other movies and sequels. So, even on that end, it's pretty important. But you've already seen it, so why am I wasting my
It
time?
also does show you that he was an arms dealer and a very bad person. So.
A very
Yeah.
awful person.
See, Conan only likes like goody two shoe.
No, it's
protagonist.
It's this one.
Mary
it's
Sue's.
important. I mean, that's actually important later because when we get into Ultron and why some people don't like him, I actually can credit like there's an important history to Stark and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not just him, but his father
too. Yeah.
Yep, he wasn't a
Hulk.
good person, but we'll stop talking about Robert Downey Jr.
What's there to say about Hulk? I mean,
It's interesting. He's going into the green one.
yeah.
Huh.
It's not a bad film. It's
No.
just completely unforgettable, and it was kind of just their way of getting it back from Universal, I think it was.
The Eric
So,
Bana one.
This
I
was
think.
not
For the Eric
Ed
Bana
Norton,
one, yeah,
yeah.
they lost their rights on it. So this is Edward Norton. The actor doesn't even show up again.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason I didn't give it a 0 on the is it relevant or not is because Thunderbolt Ross shows up in later movies. Abomination shows up again.
and is gonna show up again in the
Yeah.
series now.
So like there are some. Liv Tyler is dead, I guess, though she never shows up again. But there are some elements that show up.
But her
You
dad
could still-
does.
Yeah, that's
And
Ross.
technically, there
Yeah.
is a guy who is the same character, and he does not care about her anymore.
That's
yeah,
right.
I feel like-
because
Black Widow's around now, so I guess it's more
mean,
important.
Let's
Right.
be honest.
I feel like if I know at least who the Incredible Hulk is, then you're fine. Like you know of who David Banner is and what he turns into the Hulk.
They don't even do an
David
origin
Banner?
story.
Bruce
David
Banner,
Banner.
sorry.
David Banner.
They don't even do an origin story. And Dave, when the Avengers starts, they kind of assume that you know the Hulk already. Like they don't even really refer to this movie that much.
No.
Don't bother.
Maybe because of the recasting, or maybe that was always the intent. Who knows?
Yeah.
So
It
easy
feels,
bottom tier.
It feels so far removed from the rest of the universe. Like,
It-
apart from the recasting, it just doesn't even feel like it's part of the same set of movies in any way to me.
I'll
It
give
felt
it a little
weird.
bit of credit for the end credit scene of Ross showing up and Tony Stark showing up, and you're like, oh, this is like the first time we're actually seeing what this is going to be like. So
There's
that was
these
cool.
connections.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Wolverine shows up, and oh wait,
Yeah,
Iron Man 2 ended up in the next to last tier.
I'm so surprised that that's next. Like,
The fact that it goes Iron Man, Hulk, Iron Man 2.
yeah.
Yeah, there's 3 Iron Mans in the first 7 movies. And I think now in retrospect that was probably not the right decision.
Yeah, so Dave, this one is not a great movie. I actually don't mind it. I find myself liking it more than a lot of people. Maybe that's just because I enjoy how mediocre it is and making fun of it. This is the guy with the bird. Don't touch my bird.
Can I have my bird?
Have my bird. And they do. Black Widow's introduced, but she may as well not be. Kind of. You know, a little bit more War Machine. You know, a little bit more of his history with arms dealing.
Also a recasting. On
Yeah,
War Machine.
you get the wrong War Machine,
Yeah, that's true.
unfortunately.
So it's fine, but you don't need to bother with it to understand what's going on.
No, and Dave, I think as we're looking at this as a whole, I think anything in the top 3 tiers is going to be worth your time, and the ones in the bottom 2, probably not. And that's not to say that you couldn't watch them eventually. Maybe you get super into it and you want to watch them all. But I think that's the cutoff point. Because Pretty Decent ends up having a lot of traffic in it. It's the most in any tier, I believe.
Yeah.
But it's, they're quite good. So don't make that don't let that sound like, oh, don't watch them.
Yeah. To be
basically.
fair, the
I-
pretty decent category, knowing what I voted that's going to end up there, is still a good movie. Like,
Yeah. I think
It's a
there's
slight
one
scale.
line in Avengers where he's talking to Nick Fury and he's like, I thought I wasn't good for a team. I thought that's what you said. That's the only reference to Iron Man 2.
he doesn't play well with others.
He does, yep.
Mhm.
That's the line.
Yep.
So I find it funny that 2 of the first 3 Marvel Cinematic Universe movies I can just fuck right off, don't care about.
Yeah, well, now that there's 27 or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, part of that's them not being as good, and I think part of that is so much of the world was built. It just keeps building on top of itself. And it's like you kind of know the Iron Man, like where he went. You don't need the middle ground of 2 to understand where he ended up in Civil War. Like, I don't think it's as vital as most people would make it out to be.
Pretty much. First Thor, which
Yeah.
might be the most like popcorn friendly, TV friendly movie here. I see this one on all the time for some reason. I'm not sure if it's the casting or what. It ended up, I think, exactly where it belongs, which is squarely in the middle.
I'm surprised it made it that high.
I will argue, Dave, this is an example of it's a mediocre movie. I don't think it's that good. To understand and really enjoy a lot of other stuff that comes from it, you kind of have to watch this one.
Specifically Loki.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You basically
Specifically
you need
Loki. Yeah.
honestly more than anything I think you need Loki's backstory here to give his character to build from that point on. I actually think this movie is pretty funny and entertaining. I think I put 5s for both of it on it. which I was like,
Wow,
I don't
your
know.
scale's so much different than mine. And
I
5 is your like pretty good.
It was all right.
5 was my absolute lowest that I gave anything.
Oh no, I put a bunch of ones
Okay,
and twos on
IGN.
stuff.
Oh man. All right.
I have shit that I don't like at all.
So I do have to know how much, like, I played God of War, for example. I know a little bit about Norse mythology thanks to this.
It's gonna make you mad.
How much does that help?
More later in other Thor movies, although it is here.
Yeah. More later. I mean, you get a little bit of Asgard, which is pretty cool. Visually, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, you get a little bit of Asgard and mostly New Mexico.
That's true.
Do
A
you-
little bit of Hawkeye, little bit of like fish out of water, which is kind of funny, and I think it's a pretty good route that they took.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like criticism on how Hemsworth's character changes, especially from into Ragnarok from here. I've gone back and watched some, like, I don't know, I think he's pretty funny as the character.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
second one is the one we'll get to that is shit. But like, I don't mind Hemsworth's acting in this at all.
I'll talk more about that when we get to Ragnarok,
Okay.
but yeah.
Captain America: First Avenger. I need to double check. I have them color coded over here.
It's another mediocre one. I'm just going to tell you mine. Maybe they chose something else, Dave.
Yeah, it's in the.
I think it's mediocre, but again, pretty vital.
Kind of have to.
Like him, it's like a war movie, so that's fairly unique in the genres that they do. Actually, it is unique. That's the only one that they do with this. You get the origin, the shield. You get the space stone is introduced here. The Red Skull is introduced here. There's a lot of stuff that comes up again.
Get to punch a bunch of Nazis and stuff too. It's great.
Yeah, you kind of need to watch this one. Yeah, for later. You do.
I think it establishes most of Steve's character, which runs through a pretty central theme through the rest of the series. I think that's mostly why you need to watch it.
We'll get to this later. He and Iron Man have the most character development easily, and they are also the ones that are like the main characters of Avengers 4. Their stories really kind of come home in that, but to understand that, you really have to watch the first one.
This was close to the next tier. I actually probably dragged this down. I gave it a 4 on watchability because I think it's one of the worst origin stories in retrospect. They've done so many better versions of this story. But I still had it on par, I think equal. I think we all had it as a 7 as far as importance because, again, it's too important of a character to skip.
I can't remember who. Is it Stanley Tucci that plays Erskine?
He's great.
I really like him in that movie, which is a bummer because his character, well, spoilers.
I've softened on this one. I used to not like it that much, and I'm like, oh, actually,
I think I went back and
pretty
like I
good.
saw his scenes and I was like, I really like that character. Like it served his purpose. He can't really stick around, but yeah.
Oh, Stanley. Oh, yeah. I mean, he's
Tucci's
great.
character.
What is he in that's
Yeah.
bad? Nothing.
The Avengers is 2012, and it ends up
Ready?
in the really good tier.
I'm surprised that was. I thought there were more origin stories before the Avengers came out.
No, that they were like rushing to get to this first Avengers
I mean,
movie.
there's your core 4 of the Avengers plus Black Widow was dropped into Iron Man 2, and Hawkeye is
in Thor.
very briefly introduced in Thor, and then he doesn't serve much of a purpose in that movie other than being a bad guy anyway.
Yeah.
So what's talking about how like I watched Captain America before. I like it more now. I like Avengers so much less now
Than
I did before.
Exactly.
Dave, so much less.
Well, it was. I mean, it was a groundbreaking at the time.
Oh yeah, I even saw it like 4 times in theaters. Like this is so good. And what they've done with the tone since then, they still have fun. And people would probably argue there's still too many quips, but like fine. It's so cheesy to go back to this movie. It really they don't do the same, like they don't balance the tones the same way that they do now. Maisie, who likes the newer movies, can't hardly stand this one.
I have a really weird reason. I think I actually rated this higher, and then looking back, I probably should have dropped it down a little bit. It's a really stupid reason, but a major. I don't know how much we're supposed to not spoil for Dave. We're
I
just,
would have oiled the major stuff,
Yeah.
but I don't think Avengers is
So
really
here's
enough on
the
it.
problem.
yeah, I mean, there's
Society has spoiled it. All right.
Yeah,
Society.
there's a character that dies in this movie, and then they repurpose him for a TV series that they then abandon, like half a season in and gave up on, and they they brought him back to life for it, and I'm like, it was supposed to be a big like dramatic scene. It's like you undercut it so quickly in a different
yeah.
format. It was just kind of. That's why I look back at it and I think it's cheesy, like
Yeah.
you say. I look back.
I like this movie. What I don't like the theory behind it and all the characters filling their roles is great. There's some funny moments. The action at times is pretty good. It's so infuriatingly Joss Whedon. Like every part of this, including a character dying,
Mhm.
like that's so him.
A cult classic character dying.
All the little banter and the way that they do it it's just I'm listening to him talk. I'm listening to Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Firefly and everything Joss Whedon's ever done. And now that he's an asshole, it sours it even more. But I will say, Chris will vouch for me on this. For a long time, I was like, ugh, it's just like Joss Whedon. I can hear Joss Whedon and it bothers me.
Now that he's an asshole, he was an asshole, but now we found out that he's an asshole. He just turned.
He's always bothered me, and now that he's an asshole, it's even worse.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
I think he's maybe almost supplanted Aaron Sorkin as the writer I can hear most in their own dialogue. And that's not a compliment.
No, it's not, because and he writes in broad strokes, like when he's writing Captain America, it's like, did a 4-year-old write their take on Captain America? Like they're very solidly in their roles, and there's very little nuance. And maybe that's because it's the first team up. Maybe it's because Joss Whedon's a hack.
Ooh.
I think it's because in a way, like you're right, it's the first team up, and it has to be so shallow on like every single character. You get the very surface level Captain America, I love the USA, rah bullshit. You get the Iron Man.
I'm smart and rich.
Yeah, I'm smart and rich, and I'm such a smartass. It's honestly what soured me on Iron Man probably early on is some of this movie of just he just basically is playing like, I don't know. It's like I don't know how to explain it.
Everybody in this movie is kind of a dick.
They are kind of a dick because of that.
Yeah,
and that's tough. And they're not even really redeemed by the end of it. They do the right thing and they do good, but they're character wise. Like
them sucks in this movie.
Them eating the shawarma is the first step towards reconciliation. And it's the fucking post-credit scene.
Who's not an asshole? Black Widow?
Yeah, and she's really anything.
She's trying really hard to help Hawkeye. I mean, like, that's basically it. You're probably right.
And Hawkeye's not an asshole by choice.
I like that they give her something to do. They actually make her a character.
Sure.
Like, there's good stuff in this movie, Dave. Definitely watch it, but just keep
it's in our second
mind.
tier, so like it's there for a reason. It's just compared to some of the other stuff that surrounds it.
I have a feeling you're going to agree with me on this one.
We get the first reference of Budapest in that movie.
Can I ask anything? No? Good. We'll move on.
Yeah.
Oh, no, wait.
No. No, what I was going to say was if you talk about writers who you can see themselves, you forgot about David Cage. That was just my example.
Of course.
Well, for video games, absolutely.
Absolutely.
But just for film and TV. Iron Man 3 goes straight into the don't bother. I think Sean likes this more than the two of us do. Both of us.
Probably by a lot then.
Yeah.
Dave, if you ever are like, I'm interested, I like Iron Man a lot as a character. I'm interested. Like it? No? Okay. Well,
we'll
then
see.
maybe skip.
There's this whole movie that kind of pits these two primary characters against each other. It'll be interesting to see which side Dave falls on. I don't even want to try and influence him. So we'll get to it. It's called Civil War.
If you have no interest in Iron Man, let's absolutely just skip this one then.
Yeah. And we're going to go ahead and throw one more down here too, because there's Thor the Dark World, and it's going in the bottom tier as well.
Well, one of the worst. Now, here's what sucks about it. It covers one of the Infinity Stones.
Yeah.
The Loki stuff is very good.
Yes.
It's in it for like a quarter of the movie.
15%, yeah.
But it's great. It's the best stuff in the movie by a lot. It alone almost makes it worth watching, but the action is terrible. The villain is terrible. It's boring. No one but Loki seems like they're having a good time.
Hold on. I have a joke. I think it has to do with this movie.
Okay.
Watch my camera. Is that it? Is this the movie where that happened? Where everything was shot at an angle?
Oh, maybe. That could be it. I'm not sure, but it was bad.
And just to jump ahead a smidge, I really hope that the next Thor movie does for Natalie Portman what Thor Ragnarok did for Thor.
Yeah. Well, it's Taika Waititi, so I think it will.
I think it will too. But basically, she is not very good in this. She's not very good in the first one, I don't think, but she's especially bad here. If there's anybody who's checked out, it's her. So hopefully that's a redemption arc for her in the next movie.
The problem is this movie and scenes from it are referenced later too, Dave.
It's so annoying.
It doesn't matter. Skip it. I'll tell you what you need to know.
It came at such a bad time where it was necessary, and then they did such a shit job on it. Like Iron Man 3 we can skip over and like legitimately mostly skip over. There's actually crap in Dark World you kind of need to know. And it sucks so bad it's not worth just be confused. It's worth it.
Yeah.
So we're 50% of movies so far. 8 movies, 2.5 hours each. We're pushing, almost a day full of activity watching movies here, and half of them I can skip.
That's right.
Well, okay, but I was trying to be as friendly to you as possible. Like, but also they get better as we go on. We're going to start seeing more higher.
We're literally just about to hit.
Yep.
That would be Captain America the Winter Soldier, which
that's
was
fucking right.
In the top tier. It was almost a universal 10 in both categories.
It's the only thing I gave a 10, Dave. So, yeah. And this one is not that important for the, if you don't watch this movie, you're not going to know what's happening. It actually probably ranks low on that. But I still gave it a 10 in that category because it's so good, and you just have to watch it.
It's necessary to watch.
Well, it's necessary because it's great.
I made it very necessary. Partly was because of that, but also there's a couple things that happen that I think it's very important.
Yeah, and over time, especially with the TV series, which, spoiler alert, are on here. We'll do them as a quick throw-in at the end. We won't, because we didn't rank those. We only did the movies. But the TV shows are on here. Yeah, I think it's added importance over time.
Yeah, Dave, I take it back. I forgot about the huge thing that happens that alters the entire universe.
Yeah,
by the way.
So no, the thing that happens.
And the huge thing that happens.
Thing.
Just one small thing, and it's Black Widow kissing Captain America.
Yeah,
that's the one thing that happens.
Is Black Widow ever better than she is in this movie?
No,
including in her own movie.
No.
I don't know if she is.
I like Chris Evans as Captain America a lot. I think he's really, really good in this movie.
This is why I'm on Team Captain America. By the way,
if I wanted to go through like the best like acting performances in these movies, I think this is one of the best acted movies.
Yep.
Just in terms
of
performances.
It's like a spy thriller, Dave. Yeah. We're talking about the genres going through. This is kind of like takes hints from like the 70s Robert Redford spy thriller, which is why he's in the movie.
Such a good casting to have Redford in that movie.
Yeah.
Too.
So it's great. Watch this movie. Enjoy it, please. I almost don't want to tell you more because I don't want to oversell it,
That's why I stopped. I don't actually want that movie to get spoiled.
I think the only time Black Widow comes close is the start of Endgame. And even then, I think this is still better. Mm-hmm. But I really like her role there. Can't talk about it more than that.
Yep.
So there we go. We finally have one in the top tier. And it's by the way, the number one movie in the entire list.
Good.
Oh, good.
I feel that way.
It is my
favorite. I have seen this next one already.
Hey, look at you. Guardians of the Galaxy goes into the really good tier.
Ooh.
Yep. But
it was.
I'll say.
Let me double check.
Really good. It was fun. That's what I thought.
It's fun. And then, Dave, why I think it's relevant, other than, just being a good team up before Chris Pratt got annoying, was it covered one of the Power Stone is in this one, too. So introduces the team.
I'm not Thor. Thanos. I'm sorry.
Introduces Thanos. Well,
he was introduced in the first Avengers.
Tangentially.
Via Loki.
Yeah. It's Josh Brolin for the first time.
I think it is.
Yeah, it was somebody else in the stinger at the end of... was it Avengers?
Yeah. But it's a Power Stone. It's the Infinity Stone. And yeah, it's kind of fun tracking the stones through these movies and seeing like where they end up and where they go and who passes hands. And so, yeah, it's good. But you've seen it already. Why am I wasting time?
You can argue that this is the tonal shift. Because there is some humor in Winter Soldier, but that's not really that movie's strongest point. Wow. This sort of sets the tone, I think, going forward in mostly a good way.
I would say a tonal shift. Winter Soldier sets it for like, okay, we're actually going to take these a little bit seriously now. And then Guardians of the Galaxy is like, we're still going to do that, but we can still do jokes and make you care.
I felt like the only problem with Guardians of the Galaxy is it felt like there was a little bit of, it didn't matter so much because you knew no one was actually going to get hurt. I can't remember the blue guy's name. I'm sorry. But it felt like he got like thrown across a room at one point. And he's like, it's fine. No big deal.
Yeah, but like Groot died. But like Groot died.
Yeah, until he came back. So.
Well, but he didn't come back. That was like a baby thing.
So then we get to Age of Ultron.
Oh, Jesus.
This is going to be divisive.
So Guardians of the Galaxy was the highest of the really good tier. Age of Ultron is the highest in the pretty decent tier.
Interesting. I'm surprised it was that high.
It has a lot in the importance category and not so much in the watchability category.
I had 8 for necessity because I think it's super important. And
it is.
Like I said, if you like, there's important shit in Dark World that like you can just skip over and be confused. You have to, if you want to understand shit, you have to grit your teeth and sit through Ultron, as unbearable as it really is.
There's it's not that bad, Dave, and I think you should watch it. It has its moments. It also has its moments where it's not good, but there's some good stuff in it. Really, I think it's a pretty good movie for Hawkeye. Yeah. Some people hate the whole family thing, but I think at least he gets to be in the movie this time.
As someone who actually thinks like, I don't mind him at all. He's fine. Okay. As someone who like Scarlet Witch is one of my favorite characters in Marvel's history and comics and all that, and I like her a lot in this universe. That's really the only thing I'm kind of interested in, and she doesn't have much to do in this movie.
No, but I like her visions. There's action sequences, Dave.
Yeah.
One of the action sequences to this day is one of the best ones they've ever done.
Visually, it is probably one of the better, like cooler looking to see movies.
But you get Sokovia Accords, you get Scarlet Witch. I would even say like a little bit of the relationship with Scarlet Witch and like Hawkeye.
It's important.
That comes back later. Vision. Like, there's so much stuff. Thor's weird spa visions. That's
Which
the
don't
worst part
exactly
of the
get
movie.
followed up on.
No, they don't make and they don't make sense. But
He kind of
still,
just dismisses them at the start of Ragnarok.
it still lays a foundation for later. There's more Infinity Stones. You have to watch it.
Yep. That's why it's this, it makes that tier because it's important to get in there. It's sort of a disappointment in some places, and it has a hysterectomy in it, so that's pretty cool.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, don't worry about that. You'll know it when it
they're
comes
like
up.
snip, snap, snip, snap.
Just take away a character's agency. Don't worry about it.
We follow it up. Don't worry, there's a movie that we kind of expand on it on.
Yeah.
Sure. Ant-Man's also in 2015, and it ended up
Just tell me, is it-
pretty decent, but only barely.
Interesting.
I think I undersold this movie when I reviewed it on here.
I gotta say, this is the one out of both the Ant-Man movies are the ones where I see him just like, no. Like all the rest, I'm like, yeah, I could do this, but no. I don't know why.
This
Do you
looks
not
pretty-
like Paul Rudd?
I mean, I don't not like him.
Okay.
This one's here's what I'll say. It's smaller scale for sure. I didn't even mean it like that. I'm just
Mhm.
like you get so tired sometimes of like it's the Earth is at stake, and it's like this is a more personal story. It's kind of like a heist movie, so it's a different approach. I had it borderline if it's vital. It was right under being vital just because Ant-Man is important. It introduces the quantum realm, which is going to be increasingly important. That's about it.
I think
And Hope Van Dyne, Evangeline Lilly, she'll be back.
I put it, I think, as like a 6 or 7 for necessity because it sets up the second Ant-Man, which is really kind of necessary to me given what it does to Infinity War and Endgame. But it's fine.
Yeah. So
I went into this thinking I wasn't going to like it very much, and after I watched it, I was like, that's pretty good. I like Paul Rudd though. So
Dave,
that
I
was
think
fine.
watch this one, and we'll get to Ant-Man 2. But I think watch this one so that you can better enjoy later installments. That's my recommendation.
All right.
And then after Ant-Man and side shenanigans, we have Civil War.
Which is, yeah. Yep. So now you see why Captain America, why we're wearing Captain America shirts.
I see what side you're on. You're on Team Jacob. Wait.
Mhm.
Yes.
That's right.
So the underlying thread, Dave, that goes behind these movies is the Russo brothers directed both of them. And they are head and shoulders better than anyone else who's directed any of these movies, except maybe Taika Waititi. He's still below them though, because they do so good with the emotion and the action. The action of these two movies up top are on a different level than everything else on this list. And I don't know how much you care about action, but for me, it makes a huge difference if you have action like in Thor, where it's like slow swings, and it's something like Civil War, where they have these actors training in hand-to-hand combat so they can actually really deliver it when it matters.
This would be a 10 if only for the airport scene alone.
Yeah. I was going to say that the fight at the airport is, I mean, what, a top 5 scene in all of these things together.
It's way up there.
Yeah,
for
but
me.
It's
even
so
before that, like at the building and the chase scene with the cars.
Well, there's other really good stuff.
Yeah, it's so good. Dave, you had a question.
Is this one, is this, as far as the fight, like action scenes go, you ask if it is important to me. Not terribly, to be honest. It's never been like, oh man, I love that. Like I enjoy it, but it's never been like, man, this is what I took from it so much. So, are they more drawn out, or is it like really good short bursts of it?
I think they're drawn out, but the
there's-
thing is, the catch with this movie is, while it's called, it's a Captain America movie,
It's an Avengers.
it's an
movie.
Avengers movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
And
It
so
100% is.
you have a large group of people. Spider-Man's reintroduced here, for the most part. Black Panther's introduced here, and so there's a lot of different, people involved. So I think the fight scenes are a little drawn out, but you're hopping from individual battle to individual battle. And also, I mean, you get Bucky as Bucky and not so much
Yeah.
Winter Soldier in this.
I don't know. You say it doesn't matter, but when you watch really dynamic, fast, well shot action, it should feel kind of visceral.
Yeah.
It's going to wake you up, Dave.
So, have any of you watched The Orville at all?
No.
Not
we,
yet.
We did not take your recommendation because we hate you.
We're going to. We're
Right.
going to.
I swear, you better, because that to me is one of the best. There's an episode in the second season that has, I think, one of the best space action sequences ever done in television.
Okay.
Ever.
Well, we'll watch it, and then you'll watch this and tell me how you like the fighting.
And we'll watch that after you watch this.
Yeah, but it's going to take me longer to watch this than it would for you to watch 2 seasons of The Orville. So
That's right. This finished just below Winter Soldier. I think that's appropriate. we would all, I think, well, I don't want to speak for all of us, but
It is my second favorite movie.
in general, like it's close, but Winter Soldier is a step
I
above.
think it's my third or fourth. Yeah.
This is essentially the midway point, and it's interesting how it's placed there because it's the culmination of everything that preceded it and the impetus for everything that follows.
There's a chance you think this is the best movie.
Yeah.
I'm thinking to the end, and where you're like, I know where this is. Your thing of like, I know where this is going to go, and I can pretty safely say you don't know where this one's going to go.
Yeah.
You think you know, but you have no idea.
Yeah.
There's only a couple on this list, which is fine. There's a formula to the Marvel movies, and overall, we like that formula. So, Doctor Strange is here.
Drop it where it belongs.
Doctor Strange is going in not great.
Oh, God.
Oh.
It even got that high.
Benedict.
I mean, it's a visual spectacle.
Dave, I had it as a so-so movie. Yeah. That was kind of, I started really feeling the formula in this one. The end, I think, is phenomenal, though, which is great. And it's the time stone. It's Doctor Strange and magic. And he shows up a bunch of times. Magic shows up a bunch of times. It probably is vital, but I don't think it's their strongest outing. But I would say vital still.
So I also look at this through the lens of I'll be watching this with my wife, who, when she saw Spider-Man with me, did enjoy it. Didn't know much anything because she hasn't seen these movies with me either. But, I mean, she saw Doctor Strange, kind of gotten the idea. So if we have kind of the idea of who he is, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, I know, but there's a time
It's
stone.
probably easier to watch after the fact if he's been in a couple more movies than as his introduction
Yeah.
to me, because I could not get into this movie the multiple times I tried.
I had a
to
hard
watch
time
it.
getting, but now I can get into it easier because he's so established.
That's what I'm saying.
That's a good point.
If I went back and rewatched it now, I know I would probably enjoy it more than I did the first couple times I tried to watch it.
But Dave, I think it's vital. So if you take those notes, I do think it's vital, but just so.
It's not that vital.
The screenshot has it below the line.
Mhm.
So
It's not that vital.
Ugh.
It says not great. There it is.
This is my one contention point so far. Then
can you
Because
put like
Cody
an
gave it a
asterisk
1.
on that, Chris?
What?
Cody, time stone.
Don't care.
Asterisk, right?
Don't
the
care.
Oh,
asterisk.
yeah.
We
That's an
cover what the time stone
No.
does in Avengers later. It's all good. She explains it. The time lady explains it all. And
Yeah,
it's all good.
It's not super hard to figure out what's going on with
Yeah,
it.
it's really not a big
I
deal.
wholeheartedly agree. I think it's a lot better to go back later than it is to watch in flow.
It is called the time stone. You can probably
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all good.
deduce
It
what
You
it
does.
is.
understand what power
So it
does.
does like space powers, right? No,
Yeah,
wrong.
if nothing else, Dave, watch the. Doug is right. Watch the Dormammu scene.
That's fine. Exactly. There you go. That's fine.
This was one of the biggest splits on the list. We had Age of Ultron that was like not that great but important. This was the opposite. This is Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Which I've seen.
And it ended up being pretty decent because all three of us had it as like, oh, that's a fun movie. We liked watching it. And all three of us were like, yeah, it doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things.
Oh yeah, I did
But
put
Not
Kurt
yet,
Russell,
at least.
Guys.
What's
Kurt
up?
Russell. Kurt Russell. He was awesome in this movie.
Yeah.
So, how did
and-
you like this movie?
It was fun. But again, I didn't feel like it had any connection to anything else of the limited knowledge I had. And I don't know, like I really grew to hate Kurt Russell's character because, like, what a dick.
He's fucked up.
Yeah.
And I will say, this is one where I had a hard time getting into it. Right around the midway point, I was like, this is starting to feel long. And then the end, when he's like, oh, yeah, I killed your mom. And
Yeah.
he's like, oh, what did you say?
I'm
That
sorry.
was all really good.
When we get to another movie that's coming up that I think recycled some of the Kurt Russell shit in its plot line, I will go further into
Okay.
why.
All right, so there's...
I will say, I thought Mantis was really funny in this movie. And I
Oh,
thought it was,
she's the best
and I
part.
thought it was Batista was just killing it in this.
Mhm.
And which is nice because I thought he was okay in Guardians, and then this was like, oh, Batista can act. That's really cool. So that's what I took from it for the most part.
That's a good point. And Yondu dies. You're saying everyone's untouchable, Dave.
I was gonna say that's actually emotional too. There's
Yeah.
not a whole lot of this series I think can get you kind of emotional. I thought that actually was kind of it hit a little bit. Dave called him the blue guy earlier.
Yeah, the
so
blue
let's
guy.
just
That's
Dave's
the
glad
problem.
he's dead.
I'm not glad he's dead. I didn't like that. That arrow thing was just pure magic and could, like, murder everyone.
Yeah,
So
Oh, that's where you
badass.
draw the line, huh? Not the holes in the universe that Doctor Strange can do. Okay.
I haven't seen that movie yet.
Well, there's
Yeah.
a hole in the poster.
Yeah, there's somebody else coming up who also kind of makes the magic arrow look pale in comparison. We'll get to her.
Them.
Yeah, them. I don't want to give it
Spoilers.
away. Our first Spider-Man offering, Homecoming.
Yay.
Cody did not rate. Sean and I were pretty close on, and it's the other one, just like Guardians, where we both have it in pretty high in watchability and tanked in importance. So it ended up in, oh God, which one is that? Let me switch to my color-coded one. Yeah, no, it's down here and not great.
Ooh.
Well, I'm watching it, so screw you guys.
Well, no, that's great, Dave. Like, it's not great in terms of do you need to watch it?
Is it vital? Yeah.
No, it affects nothing. It's an okay movie. It's pretty good.
It scored well as far as watchability.
Who's the bad guy? Who's the bad guy in this movie?
The Vulture.
Thank you.
People they don't, critics on this movie don't like that he doesn't have to make a really tough choice. And that's like the big Spider-Man thing. I don't think we have to tell every Spider-Man story the same way, but I'll just say that is what detractors will say.
The stakes also don't need to be fucking high like that. And he's your neighborhood Spider-Man. I don't like Spider-Man very much, but this movie also doesn't need to have some crazy high stakes. That's not the point.
Yeah.
I feel like they addressed that a little bit in No Way Home, too.
Yeah.
So.
Which actually was like the best of both worlds. Like, sort of very personal, sort of low stakes, but then you get more at the end. So, yeah.
So unfortunately, its lack of importance to the MCU is really what hurt it, and that's why it's downward.
Iron
I'm
Man's in
still
it.
watching it.
Sure. He's kind of the star of the movie in some ways.
You should watch Doctor Strange.
Just like
too.
Civil War is an Avengers movie. No, that one's actually just an Iron Man movie with a Spider Kid.
So, Dave, we're getting to like...
Oh, I see. Now I see why it's out of sort. I got it. Okay, I was like, what's going on? Why is that movie next? I understand now. Thor Ragnarok is here.
I don't... This better go way high. Okay, at least there. Yeah, okay. That's more like it.
It was the lowest of the movies that made this tier.
Okay, that's...
I didn't
Fair.
I didn't vote it super high in necessity, which maybe in hindsight I sort of should have, but it's also one of my top 5 favorite movies to watch of it.
Dave,
really like
yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. I had some of the most fun in this entire MCU watching this movie. It's a comedy, but not like Airplane, where it's like just stupid. Like you can still take
Airplane.
you can still take the
Just watch
events
it.
seriously, even though it's funny.
It's also the best version of Hulk fucking possible.
It's the best version of Hulk. It's the best version of Thor. It's the best version of a bunch of different characters. Yeah. They play on jokes that at one point were taken seriously in the MCU, and they look back and are like, wow, that was dumb, and they make fun of it in this one. Yeah. It's just like pure joy. I love this movie.
I remember this movie starting, and the way it starts off, and he's hanging there, he's monologuing, and again, he references that I went around looking for stuff and I couldn't find anything, and that him erasing the thing from Ultron, I was like, all right, we're good. This is probably going to be pretty entertaining since we started off just like that.
Yeah.
Also, Jeff Goldblum calling it Asgard. I laughed so hard at such a dumb joke.
Jeff Goldblum's in it. He's great.
He does exactly what you think he would do. He's doing Jeff Goldblum things.
Tessa Thompson, excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is the reason that I should see this movie, right?
Tessa Thompson?
Because you love Creed 2?
Jeff Goldblum. That was supposed to be my Jeff Goldblum impression.
Oh, you were
was
pausing
that
for
was Jeff
effect.
Goldblum? I don't get it.
Oh, I understand.
He's very
I thought it was
good.
William Shatner. I gave 2 10s for watchability, Winter Soldier in this. So
Dave,
that
it's
speaks
so
to...
good. I don't know how you feel about like comedies though. Like, I mean, like I know you like a good comedy. I don't know how you like it in your action movie, but
I very much so.
Oh,
Absolutely.
then great. I hope you love this movie.
I think
That's
I'm really
why I
shocked
like the Orville.
that Black Panther came out after Ragnarok. I really would have thought Ragnarok came out after that.
No.
I know.
You're
Clearly,
wrong.
I'm wrong.
Wakanda Forever? It's up and really good.
Okay, that's fair.
This was another one that ranked a lot higher for watchability than importance. Not a huge gap like it was for those other 2 I mentioned, but there was a decided difference because, again, while some of the things it introduces do end up coming up later, I don't really know that you need to see this to get those. So it's really just more about like, hey, this is still good on its own merit. We talked at the time when we reviewed it about how it was a really good chance for African Americans to see themselves in a movie. And, rest in power, Chadwick Boseman. And that's about all I have to say about Black Panther.
Yeah, it's good. I've gone on long-winded talks about how Black Panther is pretty much the only hero in the MCU that's a proactive hero. He's like, I'm going to go out and not just wait for bad things to happen. I'm going to build up neighborhoods. And, I really like that about it. The plot is pretty good. I felt like the plot for me was lacking. I thought it was going to go in one direction. And when it didn't, I felt like it kind of like wrapped things up too neatly. And almost like Deus Ex Machina, when it could have been so much better, but it was still good, and it was still worthy. Almost no importance to the rest of to the universe, though. Not really.
Until we have the Wakanda TV show that's supposed to be coming, I'm curious how important that will make this.
Wakanda's in Infinity War, but like
it's a setting that gets destroyed.
Yeah, you don't
unfortunately.
need to know it before you go into that.
I think having looked back at this, Killmonger's really good as a villain.
That's
and
true.
Yeah.
Someone who makes some pretty damn good points multiple times. He's just psycho, and he doesn't really execute them super well. The one thing I'll be really mean and say is, so he went out and gave a bunch of stuff. So what, he built one fucking community center in like Oakland, and that was all he did?
Yeah,
what
look,
more did he actually do?
I'm not saying like it's the problem's over, but like he's not like a Batman who's perched waiting
That is
for
true.
Poor criminals to beat the shit out of him.
I really wanted more of a follow-up in the universe of what the fuck he actually did after revealing they had a bunch of money. And then I think, unfortunately, what happens is one movie later, half of society disappears.
Yeah.
So I didn't really
Spoiler.
get a chance to find out what he might have done good, because the world sucks very soon after this.
Mm-hmm. Hey, speaking of very soon after this, the first of our two-part Infinity War Avengers nonsense
These movies
ended up in the best of the best.
This and Ant-Man and Wasp having basically concurrently to line them up the correct way was also weird.
So, Cody, which was better, Infinity War or Endgame?
Infinity War.
Most people say Infinity War.
Considering I'm the person who likes Empire Strikes Back, and I like the downer movie that everyone has to like kind of deal with how sad shit is going on, of course I like this one movie.
Dave, I think you're going to like this one too.
I mean, I like Empire, pretty much all the Star Wars, so, you know.
I will say the group of all of Thanos' little henchmen people, pretty disposable.
Yeah,
Pretty
they
quick.
could've been
Maybe
better,
by
but-
intent, but
Until he called in all the good shit and brought it down to Wakanda, it was just funny that it's like, oh, they're kind of disposing of these guys pretty quickly.
Yeah, they're not great.
By the way, this is what this movie right here is why I don't need to watch the first Doctor Strange. I get what I need from being introduced to Doctor Strange early on in this movie. I got what I needed.
Dave, you will see. I don't want to spoil anything, although I know you know like the big spoilers, but repercussions from everything that's happened up to this point matter in this movie. You could say it's the difference of whether they succeed or not. And I really appreciated that like attention to detail and acknowledging the history that led to this point.
Iron Man sucks, by the way. That's the problem here.
I will say, knowing obviously kind of how this ends, I can only imagine how it would have been at the time, being like, holy shit, he succeeded. What? Like, that must have been a mindfuck.
Yeah, and that's the end.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God. And you're...
roll credits.
You'll see. You'll see. Maybe you know it, but I don't want to spoil every cool moment about it. So
No.
it's definitely worth watching.
There's some neat moments in both of these that are really important not to spoil if possible.
Yeah, and it's a high point of the entire saga. It really is.
If I could make it so that like the first third of Endgame was folded into this,
Oh
it would
my
be a
God.
10.
It would be
It
so
would be the
much
first
better.
thing on this list.
Yeah.
But that would kind of break the second movie. I'm just saying, like, I
No.
love everything up to that point as a 10 out of 10, and then the rest is like an 8.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think this ends at the perfect point.
Oh, I think so too.
But,
I just
yeah.
like as I'm looking, because this is clearly like one big movie.
Yeah,
They split it
yeah.
at a perfect point, and it
The
would have been
first-
5 hours
The first
if they
chunk of
didn't.
Endgame
but-
is like its own movie.
Yeah, because you talked about like, well, you want to see the downer part, the fallout. Well, that doesn't happen until Endgame,
Endgame,
which is
yeah.
another part of it I especially appreciate.
Yeah,
We'll get there.
that's true.
Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Very vitally important to watch for the things they introduce. but
Let-
not
let-
that great of a movie.
No,
Let
not
me
great.
say this. I don't even think that's true. I don't even think it's... So, I don't know if there's a movie that I enjoyed less than this in the entire MCU, and I don't know why, but I was at the theater, and I'm watching it. I'm like, I'm so bored. I'm so bored, and I love Paul Rudd, and I love Evangeline. I don't know what my problem was. I didn't enjoy this movie at all. Everything you need for Dave for what's vital, post-credit scene. That's it.
Love it.
That's it. And it
mean-
is vital. And it's also the best part of the whole movie. And it's in the post-credit
I
scene.
guess if you don't
So
care
look it up.
about how he created the shit, which is teased a little bit in the first Ant-Man anyway.
Yeah. That's what, honestly...
Honestly, if you just cut out like most of the plot of Michael Douglas being mad at whoever he's fucking mad at, I can't even remember that well, and just kept like every time they had the big machine and they talked about the big machine, it's all that really matters. I don't know how much.
But
of
you
else
get
is
it
that
in the
great.
first one. For the most part, you get everything you need in the first one. That's why I
true.
said the first one was like a little more critical. So if you watch the first one, definitely consider the second one disposable, except for the post-credit scene.
Which you can Google on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Google it on
For
YouTube.
3
I have
minutes.
Disney Plus, I could just fast forward to.
Yeah.
So.
To me, this is the one that just doesn't seem like it fits. I think the original Ant-Man did well, but it's like, did it really need a sequel? Was there anything that happened in this that was so important that we needed to do an entire other movie?
They needed to bring his wife back.
I guess.
That's like, honestly, like that's soup. That to me, that's it. That's
and I'm excited for Ant-Man 3. Like, I think you can have a good Ant-Man movie. They just like, you just do it better.
I'm concerned.
Do a better job.
I'm concerned about that movie.
Well, you're going to have King the Conqueror, so it's going to be cool.
I'm concerned.
All right, we'll get to that later. So I think we've reached the movie that has the lowest impact out of the entire series. That's my vote.
I voted it pretty low.
It's in the bottom
There you
tier.
go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Take that, empowerment.
It's, I found myself being like, well, I have to like this movie because it's like
The
it's
first
a
female-led one.
And I was like, but it's just not that good, and also matters not at all. Like, nothing introduced in this movie comes into play.
I think once we get the Secret Wars show and Fury,
Then
and the
it'll matter a
Skrulls,
little bit.
I think it'll, after the fact, matter a lot more than it did to the first 3 phases.
Yeah.
This movie only matters to WandaVision. It
So
does
far.
nothing for the MCU and the movie
so far,
parts.
yeah, I forgot about that, but yeah.
But it still doesn't elevate it out of this tier. And that's
But-
not to say it's bad. I think we all had it as a decent watchability score. It's
I actually
just
did, yeah.
the importance one was tanked because they even had to kind of throw away a line about why she's not around in the Avengers movies that end this part of the phase. So
she's arguably the most powerful Avenger.
probably
Dave.
it's her or Scarlet Witch, maybe, or Strange. It's one of those three.
I would say it's probably her, Scarlet Witch, yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
Strange
agree.
is sort of a byproduct of an Infinity Stone. So
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed bits and pieces of it.
it's not bad.
Whoever plays the main Skrull, which I don't know why I'm
Ben
blanking.
Mendelsohn.
Ben Mendelsohn. He's really funny.
He's
I think
great.
He's really good. And his role, I think he's going to be in that Secret Wars
He
show,
is.
which will be probably the main
Just
reason.
up the watchability for me by like
Yeah.
a lot hearing that.
I'll,
Yeah.
I'll watch that mostly just because he's in it. I think he's really good. The Flurkin thing is funny, but it's also not that important at all. It's just a funny thing that they threw into the comics, I guess,
Yep.
that they
Yep.
pulled in.
So
Jude
Dave,
Law
any
sucks.
questions, Dave, about Captain? Yeah, I mean, he does.
Jude Law sucks in this movie. Like, not as a bad guy, he just sucks.
Yeah, it felt like a paycheck.
Yeah, exactly.
My only knowledge of Captain Marvel, period, is my kids like to watch this like Spidey and His Amazing Friends kids TV show, which has a lot of the Marvel characters in it. And Captain Marvel is in it. She can like grow big and stretch, and that's all I've seen.
That's Miss Marvel. That's not Captain Marvel.
Yeah, that's Miss Marvel.
Are you sure? Because I'm pretty sure then whatever. I don't know.
They
And-
could have called her
or
Captain
it's-
Marvel, but that's not her.
Or it's the powers of what's her face from the Fantastic Four.
Sue Storm.
That
And let's-
they say-
Not Sue Storm.
they say-
I'm
Miss
thinking of
Marvel.
I'm thinking of
Miss Marvel stretches and grows big.
I'm thinking of
Now, Dave,
face?
have you raised
Reed
an excellent
Richards.
point about how they shouldn't have named these two characters like this? Yes, you have.
Because also the name of your full comic book, empire, and you're just saying, oh yeah, this is captain of all of our comic books.
The reason they do it is because she's inspired by Captain Marvel. She's a like teenage hero. I'll grant you still maybe not the best branding.
Her name is Veers. It's fine.
So there goes
Years.
Endgame up in the top tier. We already kind of touched on it.
So I maybe like Endgame more than anybody here though, because I loved it. I actually think I prefer it. I will admit Infinity War might be a little bit better like movie, like better quality, better made. I had a hell of a great time watching Endgame though.
Just because it wraps everything up.
It wraps everything up so well. I love the way that they did it. I don't know if Dave knows how they did it yet, so I won't say that part. But like, if you can use that mechanic well, I like it. It's a crutch sometimes, but I thought they did a good job because those are themes. We'll get into this later, Cody. Themes that play into Iron Man and Captain America pretty like the undercurrents the whole time get brought up in a literal way in Endgame.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oof, what a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it.
And I think it's an excellent way to, we talked about it when we reviewed it. I'm not sure how much better you could have done with a cast this size of tying things up. Because, yes, everybody could have had a little bit more, but then you're going to have a 7-hour movie.
I think I have one huge plot hole, but that I can't say what it is now. But I remember thinking like, ooh, this hurts. It's so big that it hurts this movie a little bit for me, but it's okay.
So I've seen
I'm
14
curious what
million.
you're talking about.
I'll tell you.
I've
I'll tell you later.
I've seen 14,605 futures, and in how many of these will I actually watch every single one of these movies?
I
Zero.
hope a few.
0. You will not, you should not and will not watch Thor the Dark World.
What's interesting is the 14 million quote is actually an Infinity War.
Damn it!
Yeah, take that.
Duh,
What
stupid.
a fucking idiot. Doesn't know the Marvel movies were
Yeah,
shit.
See, you know what? You see, going back to Infinity War, part of what brings it down is how fucking stupid Star-Lord is, and I'm not going to be able to get over that.
No, that's fine.
I love that
That's
movie. And
important.
he's such a
I
fucking
wonder if that was like
dumbass.
Chris Pratt's turn.
They might have been his turn. Everyone turned against him as a movie
Yeah,
character,
so it's
and
be
A little
like,
bit.
he
His-
leaned into it,
I'm
and
going
he's
to be
just
a
like,
Baptist.
That's
yeah.
a character, but his face is on it.
Yeah.
Hey, look, there's another Spider-Man. It's Far From Home. Cody didn't rate it. Sean and I were close again.
I will tell you, if I did rate it, I would have rated it lower than
It's-
Homecoming.
it's up
I
there.
liked it better than Homecoming.
It's up there.
By quite a bit.
I did too.
A nice margin.
How did you guys make this a necessity movie? I'm curious.
If it's a necessity movie, it's only because it's just good.
Okay.
And I rated it a little bit for Dave.
I didn't mean that in like in a rude way. I was like, I'm
No.
actually curious
And-
Cody, you can be rude to me. I don't mind.
Because I
but,
skipped over it, and I don't think I missed
Oh,
anything.
no, I lied. It's in pretty decent.
That
So-
that
Oh,
makes
wrong
more
spot.
sense.
Hold on, I'll fix it.
It's
there we go.
not there because there is nothing that matters.
Yeah, that's why I would assume it's in this.
Except they
level.
bring up the multiverse only to be like, just kidding.
And
but
they're
then the
like,
multiverse is a thing
Just
later.
kidding,
so
just kidding.
Right.
Yeah, I don't get
This
that.
this made it this high because of watchability. Sean and I both
Oh.
had it higher there than.
That's fine.
And it's very relevant. It leads right into No Way Home. So
I know.
in some ways, it is relevant.
I mean, I don't know how much I need to see this movie because I know exactly what the outcome is.
True.
because
There is
aside
that
from
element.
Home.
Yes.
Can you believe that he doesn't actually say to execute them all like you hear in No Way Home, Dave?
I don't
It's
know
a
exactly.
trick.
I realize that now, but I
It's a
didn't really get it
trick
when I
by
watched No Way.
Mysterio.
Who's great?
I understand.
Oh, you know what? This movie, speaking of Cody's point, it also touches on how Tony Stark was an asshole.
Yep.
Yes. And I
What do you
believe
mean? Yeah, I thought you didn't see it.
I know things about it.
Okay.
Doesn't this also tease the scrolls in the back end of the movie again, or am I thinking of something?
The
else?
scrolls?
Because don't they talk about how Fury hasn't been around for a while? Spoilers.
Scrolls. Yeah. Yeah.
Fury
a little
actually hasn't been on Earth for some unknown amount of time.
bit. Yeah. Correct.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the end of 2019. Captain Marvel and Endgame and Far From Home were all 2019 as the Marvel takeover continued. And then there was nothing in 2020 for some reason,
Yeah.
I'm sure. And then we get to 2021 with the partly theatrical release, although it wasn't, and that was controversial. And we have Black Widow.
She's good now.
And it's in the not great tier.
I thought the movie was okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter at all, especially by the time you watch this. She's dead already.
I know.
But her sister is the best thing in the world, and she will show up later, so it's worth watching because of that.
It explains the hysterectomy.
Kind of.
Oh, yeah, it
As
does.
much- much as
I only
anything
have to
can.
wait. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 movies in between.
Yes, somewhere around there.
You know, and I'm okay. Now I know what you mean by hysterectomy. I'm okay with that. It was like her being like, I'm the same as you, Hulk, a fucking loser monster, because I can't have kids. And like a lot of men and women
Hulk's
were like,
walking around.
a lot of men and women were like, wait a minute. I don't know about that.
hmm
But yeah,
As a parent,
I
I know
agree
exactly
with
how that feels.
Mr. Gris, actually. All the family stuff, Yelena, excellent. My wife, Florence Pugh, does a great job.
Has good humor.
Very funny.
I think it was kind of underwhelming for the cast they threw together for the main four. I'm like, really? I mean, if you want to talk, like, there's a villain problem with a lot of these movies. Boy, if there isn't a fucking villain problem in Black Widow.
I hope you didn't like Taskmaster as a character,
It was
because
bad.
Taskmaster is not given service.
It's a mess.
Yeah,
But they will master all the tasks. So that's important.
not given their due for
It's
pretty
a
cool
me-
villain.
That's what I'm saying. There's the way they develop a
Well-
lot of these villains is just it's bad in a lot of these
But
movies.
go ahead.
The introduction is good.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What
Isn't
happens
there one
after
good scene?
that is,
She's badass though,
yeah.
Yes.
and
they screwed
Dracoff is not that. He's okay. Not that good,
Yeah.
but she's cool.
A
She's
six-
cool.
This was a 6.3 in the watchability scale and a 2.7
Yeah,
in
it
importance.
just doesn't.
That's
So
almost
matter.
exactly what I gave it.
that's why it's where it is.
Isn't
All
it's a
right, here we
prequel,
go.
Right? Kind of. It's like a before.
Yeah, it's
the
pretty cool.
Avengers. Okay.
Okay. I'm excited for
Watch
this.
it for Yelena.
Where do you think Eternals ended up?
It should be on the fucking bottom.
Man,
It
it's
should
gonna
be
be
in
on the
the
bottom,
fucking bottom.
and it probably
That's too high. It's gone way too. There we go.
It's on the
Okay,
bottom.
I want to bitch really quick.
okay.
So in Guardians 2, spoilers, he plants his seed on planets, and then he wants to take them over, and then he, goos all over it. This movie is like the same fucking point with the big giant dude sticking shit in the middle of the earth, and then it explodes out, and they use it to grow just so he can make new Titan whatever entity things. And I was like, that was not very good in Guardians, and it's so much worse in this movie. And then the last thing I want to bitch about is they let the dude who can take over people's minds and just control people as slaves off the hook way too easy. He's just holding people in Mexico, farming for him. And I was like, this is supposed to be a good guy in any way?
He's complicated. He's complicated.
He's not complicated. It doesn't even pay off. There's no payoff to him at all.
Well, but they kind of address that because they know he's bad, but he also he has the same point in the way that Killmonger has a point. We're like, okay, I can kind of see where you're coming from, but
and then you do the bad shit.
But you're on about it the wrong way. But
But then he's seen as a hero, and Killmonger is seen as a villain.
Dave, this one, as of right now,
means
most people don't enjoy it. I did. Most people don't. And even I was like, I see the flaws. You heard, I did a review on it. And as of this moment, has no repercussions for the rest of the universe. I think it's going to a lot.
Which is the trick for the last few of these. It's hard to say necessarily how much importance they have, but in some ways you can see the seeds they're planting more than others.
I think definitely don't bother for now, and if that ever changes, then maybe I can let you know.
I give it a 1 and a 1.
I'll pull up the spreadsheet at the end.
I made sure that shit was going to the bottom.
This was also I compiled all of the IMDb scores and the Rotten Tomatoes scores. This was the lowest on both.
Yeah.
Right.
It's considered by most to be, if there is a misfire, it's this movie.
The one character I liked that was like Brian David Tyree's character. He's like barely in the movie.
Yeah, but I liked him. I liked the speedster. I liked.
And what's his face? Camille. Fucking hate his character too. I need to throw that out there.
He was like, "I'm gonna abstain." You're like,
fuck
come
that.
on,
man.
man.
Fuck that, you bitch.
Yeah,
you fucking bitched out.
Yeah.
I abstained from the last two. Shang-Chi is first. This is just a Cody and Sean joint.
Ooh.
Dave, I was right on the middle for this one of Vitality. And you saying you don't really care about like awesome action probably falls out then of if it's vital or not. But I enjoyed it a lot. Like this was it might be my top 5 Marvel. If not, it's very close. I enjoyed the hell out of it. I like good action. I also thought the story was good. I liked the villain. I like the character dynamics. It's funny. It's charming. I thought it was really solid, but probably not vital.
Getting back to those scenes that I liked a lot, the scene in the bus in this movie early on, sold me so quickly.
So good.
I was just, all right, I'm all good.
We're going to say,
I feel like I actually know a little bit about this because I have actually kind of watched like different videos on YouTube regarding this. Like I talked about my pitch meetings thing I watched something on that. So I kind of knew the plot a little bit. I don't think the plot was something that was going to grab me.
Well,
yeah,
I mean, it's good. Yeah. So the problem is it starts off as like if Marvel did a Jackie Chan movie, and then it turns into like if Marvel did a Dragon Ball Z movie or something, and you're like, wait, but the Jackie Chan stuff was so cool. And if you really like Dragon Ball Z stuff, you're like, why did we waste all that time on the bus? So yeah, I agree with Mr. Griss over here that it is sort of it is a little confused, but I like that throughout they do like this is Chinese culture infused into the film. So that's cool, and that's nice to see.
The one really funny thing about this movie is there's another very crappy movie that is sort of important to the back end of this movie's plot.
Iron Man 3, yeah.
Iron Man 3 actually becomes important. It makes Iron Man 3 kind of useful in a way that I thought was really funny. I don't know how much more we should say than that.
It's a fun movie, Dave. I mean, like, part of this is like, my advice to you is if you look at this only as a job that you have to go through, you're probably not going to enjoy any of these. Yeah. I want to recommend some movies that are just like fun and enjoyable movies. So I would say this is there.
See, I place this in again, you don't know how important it's going to be. Like Guardians is fun to watch. Guardians is fun to watch apart from anything that you don't have to know anything about the universe before it. And you can just watch it. I think Shang-Chi, what do you need to know about the universe, the Marvel universe so far leading into it, other than like a couple little drop-ins when they're in like the fight club?
Yeah,
you can watch it apart. You could watch it now, not knowing any of this stuff, and you can enjoy the movie without that. I think if it can stand alone in that way without needing to be so threaded through everything else, that as a movie, it's just an enjoyable movie.
Yep, I agree.
So I'm very intrigued to hear what you guys have to say about the last one here because I've seen it. Great. That is interesting. Where
No,
you
that's
not
it's
where
not
it is.
promise us now.
Those
There's
are
no
really
way.
good.
You confuse me because I heard so much positive press about this movie. To the point of where I'm like, all right, I guess I'd better go see it. And I have an affinity for Spider-Man. I have since I was a small child watching the old Fox Kids TV show cartoon, which was fantastic, by the way.
Yeah.
And so I went to see it and I liked it, although I don't get why it was so just beloved by so many people.
Well, that sounds like a you problem.
No, it
I'm
sounds like
kidding.
an us
Don't
problem,
it.
Dave. It's an us problem.
Because it allows it to be a cross section of all three iterations of this character since the early 2000s. That's why.
So, Sean, you made a point earlier that in Ragnarok, is it Ragnarok, that you're
Yeah.
like, they can look back and poke fun at themselves. This movie does a pretty good job of looking back and being like, how many fucking times we've done Spider-Man and how many times we fucked it up
Mhm.
and making fun of it a little bit, which is why I enjoyed it more than I would a normal Spider-Man movie, because I'm like, we've had too many of these fucking things over and over again, and we couldn't get it right, I guess.
Well, and it's the most emotional you've ever had a Spider-Man MCU movie. I don't know. I thought it hit home in a lot of really great ways. And again, like Ragnarok, it was just fun the whole way through. Maisie, notorious for checking her watch, and it's so annoying because she tries to do it like not obvious, and then like it goes way too bright. It would have been better if she just like turned on her phone really quick. She didn't do that in this movie. There was no checking the time. It just like flew by because every scene is like something fun or interesting or compelling. So I think that's why it gets rated so high.
I only put it as a 7 as necessity, and I should have made it a lot higher than that. It should be like an 8 or
Yeah,
9.
you probably are dragging it
It's-
down. And also,
it's gonna
look,
be.
look what it did. Like, okay, it didn't do anything for Tobey Maguire except reiterate why everybody loved him. But Andrew Garfield,
He's so good.
let me just say, okay, for the record again, I've always loved Andrew Garfield. I was way early on the Andrew Garfield train of, man, these movies are not very good, but he was great in it. This movie, finally, I think people are like, oh, wow, he's really good.
He was
They've caught
really
up to
good.
me, and I love that.
I feel like I felt bad for him because of the bad rap that those movies got. He was almost like, I'm the punching bag, and I know I'm the punching bag.
A
He had
little bit,
he had
yeah.
a tweet yesterday or today, I think, that was like, "Where were all your motherfuckers at in 2014?"
Well, the problem
Exactly.
is his movies weren't as good.
Yeah.
This movie turns it, and he's enjoyable, and he's crucial emotionally to a very specific moment in the movie.
So
And I think Michaela actually just kind of pointed it out. He got screwed at a really bad time because he got bumped from his movies, and they weren't doing great anyway. But he got bumped out of his movies because they wanted to recast it as Holland to meld him into this universe. He was playing Spider-Man at the worst possible time because they were just trying to churn the movies out.
Yeah.
Because like, oh shit, Marvel's making a bunch of stuff. What do we have property rights to? So we're just gonna make Spider-Man and get it out really quickly. And then he got screwed out of the role, and then he came back for this. And to be fair, Sony, if they want, could make their own standalone Spider-Man movie again with him.
They
because
can now.
They've put the whole universe
No.
together, and he went back to his timeline.
And Dave, I don't like usually get super emotional in these when they took the best moment, one of the best moments from movies that were not very good, which is Emma Stone dying in Amazing Spider-Man 2. I don't know if you saw that one. She dies.
No.
He goes
Yep.
to catch her and is a second too late. She smacks to the ground.
Clunk.
So to now almost redeem that moment too and bring it home and punctuate it. And he catches her and he's overwhelmed with emotion. When he catches Zendaya, I'm overwhelmed with emotion. I'm like, oh, I know what this is. And the movie is like full of stuff like that.
yeah, and that probably hurt my viewing experience not having the full breadth.
A little bit, probably.
Which is
I
why
would say
this
so.
list is necessary, because there's a couple moments in the two big Avengers ones, for example, that rely on you having been on this journey to that point to know why this is important.
Yep.
It's cool on its own. It's not like you don't get anything out of it, but to know the meaning behind it is really important.
So I feel like we've gone full, spoilers as far as No Way Home, and I'm hanging on this one since I have seen it. I had a hard time with the fact of it seemed like nothing actually mattered in the end.
Wait, what do
you
you
know?
mean?
I mean, they returned, like I said, full spoilers on this. I'm putting that out there.
Huh.
Everybody returns at the end, and they said they yanked these guys out of the universe like right before they were about to die. So did they just get sent back and die
Oh,
again?
yeah, we don't know.
I know, and
great
it bothered
question.
me.
So there's
Really
a movie
bothered.
coming up soon that's probably going to address that in some form or another. Maybe not those specifically, but as far as the multiverse goes.
Well,
Interesting.
I mean, one of them died in the movie, so
Yeah.
I know what happened to him.
Yeah, I mean, look, but
Or
can you
Tobey Maguire
reasonably
gets
infer
stabbed.
though that they went back and their lives were able to be changed? I think you can. First of all, and second of all, it's almost like not the point. So like the point is this Spider-Man sacrificed everything to do what he thought was right. Whether he didn't have any guarantee that it was going to work either, but like he went on faith and for what he believed was the right thing to do, and like that's the part that matters, and that's what makes him Spider-Man. And I think that that's nice. Hopefully they don't go back and like right in the moment before the other Spider-Man punches him in the head and kills him or something.
And Doc Ock's like, oh no! Oh.
Yeah. But again, I think that's beside the point.
Also, Jason, Gwen Stacy better not die in Spider-Verse. That's all I'm going to say about that.
No kidding.
That
Yeah.
better buck the fucking trend.
Little different in that Spider-Man universe.
So here are our 5 TV shows. This has to be
Exactly, that's what I
rapid
was gonna
fire.
say. Doc Ock's fucked.
Oh, 5 TV shows. Nice. Rapid fire.
Yep.
Um,
Remember, this is both how good and importance. And we're still going to consider this the recommendation for Dave because some of these do warrant watching.
WandaVision should be under really good.
These all have to come pretty much after the entire MCU, though, Dave.
well, yeah. WandaVision.
Should be under really good.
It was a pretty good show, and it's going to be pretty important. So, yeah, I guess it would be the case. But
You don't like that show very much.
it's okay. It was okay. It was
I'm
okay.
going to put WandaVision here.
'Kay.
Agreed?
Dicks.
Yeah.
I can't
All
think
I
of
know about it is a wink.
Yeah, that's the most memeable moment from it.
How much did you watch, like, I Dream of Jeannie and Bewitched? And
A lot.
Modern
then
Family.
you're going to get a little bit more out of it then.
Yeah.
Not Modern Family.
And once you get through the Avengers movies, we'll see how much you like these characters in particular. That's the other sticking point.
Chris and I split on this
Division
one.
sucks,
I thought
so.
Falcon was okay. It was
Well,
good.
here's the problem. I like this one quite a bit. I think I'd put it here.
Yeah.
Because of its importance to the MCU, at least for now. It's a really good chance to spend more time with these two characters and watch their friendship blossom, but
It's not
They're-
super important except for the one way that it's extremely important.
correct.
But
Which
but
is
you
your-
know in the next movie they're just going to be like, he's the next Captain America.
I mean, they already did that. At the end of Avengers Endgame, he's
He
the next
has the
Captain
shield.
America.
Yeah,
so now
that's-
he's still back to being Captain
Spoiler.
America.
That's true.
The one thing in there is explaining that there might be more Captain Americas. That's kind of important.
Yeah.
And the splinter it creates and the ongoing repercussions, but I still think it's here unless somebody wants to fight me on it.
No,
It's all
I think
good.
it's there.
Loki, I mean, it's definitely more important going forward. That's much as clear coming out of it.
Maybe though.
Yeah, we don't know, but I think it will be. So
I
I'm
could
tempted
al-
to put it here.
I like it there just because I think it's really good, and it's another like fun show, Dave. And again, if you watch our recommendations, you do get a little bit of Loki. You're gonna get more out of this one. I thought it was good. It remains to be seen if they did the plot structure the way they did because they want it to be really important, or so they can kind of like, yeah, he's off doing his own thing and
Yeah.
he's not gonna cross over, and we don't know yet, so we'll see.
Although it does introduce someone very important on the very, very end of it. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
They use that show to introduce someone extremely significant for the next 5 years.
And it's
probably.
Owen Wilson.
It is Owen Wilson.
It's tough for me to rate What If. I've only seen a couple of the episodes.
Sucks. It's
Sucks.
terrible.
It
on
It's bad.
importance alone, it has to be in the lowest tier possible
sucks.
because it's hypothetical
Well,
that didn't happen.
Here's my biggest problem with it is that okay, let me get on my, if they had just been like, here's some what if stories, just like a fun
Yes.
alternate look, great, I would have been fine with it.
Yes.
They're actually trying to say, oh, it's actually canon because the multiverse. I was like, well, if this is gonna be canon, you should have made the show a whole lot better.
And you should be less far up your own ass by thinking that was a good idea to try and claim.
And I'm okay with Marvel quips. It's way too much.
Yeah.
I think it's just like their JV team. It's bad writing. It's not well done. Exactly. That's what I was gonna say, Jason. It might be important in the next Doctor Strange.
I watched past it, but I watched the one where Black Panther is in space. He's a Star-Lord.
That episode.
That pissed me off so much.
So sucks.
To such a huge level that I was like, I have soured on this almost completely solely because of that episode.
It was a really bad episode.
I like that Thanos is just walking around, hey guys.
Yeah,
I'm
turns
not
out
that bad.
if Star-Lord was Black Panther the whole time, he would have just
Solve the problem.
he
All
would have
good.
just convinced me.
If
this show
if Black
sucks.
Panther had gone to space and built a couple community centers, maybe Thanos would have been like, okay, cool. There's enough people and there's enough support now.
Well, you build 2 community centers, only one gets snapped.
There's
Exactly.
there's a zombie episode, Dave. No one is acting the way that they really should be acting in a zombie apocalypse. Which again, if you're like, this is just a fun side story and it doesn't matter, you can have that, but you can't have it be canon somewhere and have them all be jokey and whatever. It was bad.
I feel like you suffer when you introduce a multiverse, you lose stakes in many, many ways, which is why I think something like Rick and Morty works, because they realize it doesn't matter. Yeah, we have multiverse. We'll kill off whoever the hell we want. We have an infinite amount of others, so it doesn't matter. And so they play into that, and so it works. But if you try to take it too seriously in a multiverse setting, you lose so much.
So there's a Doctor Strange in this one who destroys his entire universe, the whole universe. And you're like, you're not supposed to care because it's not our universe. And I'm like, but I do. And that really sucks. And it just like takes me out of the whole thing.
Doctor Strange, the Doctor Strange you see in the credit
it is probably.
Is it the same Doctor Strange? Yeah, it is.
It probably is.
There's two Doctor Stranges.
You don't know but it maybe it's not that one. Maybe they're not saying that one's canon.
Wanda fucked everything up. It's fine.
That's true.
Thanks a lot, Wanda.
That's true. Yep. That is true.
Cody, have you watched Hawkeye?
I've watched half of it. I know what happens. I've already gotten the series spoiled.
You're gonna have to talk me out of putting it in Don't Bother.
Sean.
I mean, I would say not great. It's enjoyable. It's fun.
I think it has set up two characters that I think can be really fun together. I think I mentioned this before in their own movie. I think Haley Steinfeld's pretty good for what she's going to be, and I think Yelena, what's her Florence Pugh, playing Yelena, who we were both. I think we came out of Black Widow being like, okay, well that was the one useful part of it. That gets us redeemed a little bit. I think not great's probably where it should land.
Jason, if you've seen this one, the scenes when Yelena is in there, the whole show picks up. It's like noticeably different.
It drags so hard to start.
And when she's not there, you can tell. And you're like, okay, but where's the scene where she's going to come back? And I will give Haley Steinfeld a little bit of credit and say them together is really, really
I don't
good.
think her with Jeremy Renner was fine. I think when they popped up and those two playing off each other, I think is a pretty good pairing that if you want to, I mean, again, Hawkeye and Black Widow work together for all these fucking movies. Now we have two new versions of them. If that's what we're going to roll with,
I'm trying to think. Yeah, the action was not good. And I'm trying to think like if the Russo brothers did the action of Hawkeye, maybe I would have loved it.
Or if they're doing the action of a team up movie of the two of them together.
That'd be great. You had the fucking shitty. Okay, so the Gunslinger did this. Dark Tower, the movie with Idris Elba. He shoots a bullet, and then he shoots a second bullet. Then the second bullet hits the first bullet and splits it into two, and which is so impossible that physics and everything. It's the dumbest thing.
How would the first bullet catch up?
Hawkeye, yeah, right, Dave. Loved it so much they did it, but with arrows, which I don't know, maybe is slightly more feasible, but still basically totally impossible. And I'm like, wow, this is terrible. Yeah, JC, there are moments in Hawkeye that are really good. The musical I enjoyed for this seems like what someone in Broadway who has no clue about what's tasteful would make a musical out of the blip.
Yeah.
In the sense of it's not good, but it's also kind of good. The singing is actually not bad. The song's kind of catchy, but the lyrics are
them
bad.
Wanting to explain to you that this is a shitty musical because they put Ant-Man in it and he's like, Ant-Man wasn't even there. I was like, oh, you really want to undercut your own thing by pointing out that this part of your own reality sucks, I guess. But
yeah, but then he's like, and I can't sing, but the main hook of it, I was like, they have pretty good voices.
It sounded good.
But then they're talking about New Yorkers, and they're like, yeah, we know our city fucking sucks.
Yeah.
But hopefully, help us still. What? Who wrote this? Yeah, that's our list.
That's the list.
It's pretty balanced.
Yeah, I brought the tiers so they'd be relatively balanced, but there were gaps between each of these. It wasn't like oh, this is a 5.1 and this is a 5.05. There's a tier break. There was a gap.
We've had no really good TV shows.
No.
And certainly no best of the best yet.
No. I don't think we will.
Maybe eventually.
Sure, maybe, but if they couldn't do it with these four, not optimistic.
WandaVision, this is completely random. One thing that really made me mad in this show is we talked about Hawkeye and her supposed to be close, right? Hawkeye's just hanging out in this universe, right? She's fucking losing her shit because Vision died, and Hawkeye fucking knows this, and they're at the spoilers, they're at a funeral at the end of Endgame, acting like they're pals. They're like, oh yeah, you know, Nat knows and Quicksilver knows that we saved the day. Where the fuck is she? And she's losing her damn mind. He could be in a TV show for himself, but he couldn't be in her fucking TV show.
Well, yeah, he was busy doing. I mean,
it pisses me off.
The only thing I'll argue is like he just got his family back. Maybe he's like, I
would have been fine with that if they didn't reveal some shit about his family in the fucking show, where it's like, oh, he can't go to work and do work things. Well, guess what? So hopefully his fucking family doesn't work too.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad we finally did it, Dave. So
my eyes.
Look at it. I mean,
here's the chronological order. You can always pause this, and if you're on the radio version, you should go to the YouTube page and just get to the end of the video so you can see this. With each of our rankings.
Chris fucked Captain America Winter Soldier without not putting that 10.
I guess so. It's still the number one of all the movies, but you also see the IMDb and the Rotten Tomato reviews. Yes, Black Panther is the highest on Rotten Tomatoes. No, I don't know why. Yes, No Way Home is the highest on IMDb. Yes, it does feel like that might be a prisoner of the moment.
Yeah, that one I will say, Dave. Like, I have it maybe in my top 5. I don't think it quite made it, but I did tiers. I actually set mine up into tiers. It was at the bottom of my very top tier.
Winter Soldier only got a 90 on Rotten Tomatoes. Fuck
yeah, it's even worse for IMDb.
Yeah, fuck you guys. That's wrong.
7.7 is almost middle of the pack.
That's bullshit.
So, you know.
So what's the worst movie?
And then we can flip them.
Eternals.
You can see this view.
Because I just trashed Eternals.
There's the 5 tier lists. They're ranked in order of our score. The other ones don't matter. There was one tie. Way back in the beginning of the show, I mentioned he would break ties. You will not. But what did break it was IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes. And as you can see, Spider-Man Homecoming was higher on both. So it got the higher spot above Black Widow out of our 4.5.
I mean, there's a big drop between Guardians 2 to Ant-Man and Wasp.
When I was tearing things out, it also felt like there was a big drop. Like there's a lot separating the top and the bottom.
Yeah, and that's where I think that tier breaks from yellow to whatever other orange it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, to me, like probably the big drop off.
And you can kind of see why the lists broke down the way they did. It broke into nice tiers, which was nice. The tier list by default come with 5 spots. I could have tweaked that, but I mean, this is a thing they use a lot in fighting games, so it was easy to steal for this format. Not the best for the podcast format, but whatever. It's YouTube now.
At some point, we will do an update. I don't know that we will need to go through 26 again, but when a few more release, we can slot them
we
in.
Have 4 in the next year or so.
4 movies, but
40 movies.
Yeah, 4 new movies and a few TV shows as well.
I thought you said 4T movies.
No.
40 movies, Dave. We got to catch up with the pandemic. They're hitting
What
pretty hard. Let's see. We have what's the
Doctor Strange Super Madness.
That's the first one. Then
That's right.
Thor. Then
Love in a Time of Thor.
Yeah, Thor Loves Thunder and Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which I don't even know if that's going to come out when it's supposed to come out.
Yeah, because
it
there's
keeps
some
getting delayed.
There's
some
a lot.
delay issues.
There's a lot of
there's
issues.
some COVID issues.
There's
some
actor issues.
Yeah,
I mean, Chadwick Boseman dying is sadly only one of the many
one of
issues.
4 or 5 main factors.
Then you have the Marvels, which will be, I think, is led in from.
Is that this year?
That's 2023. So the show will come out this year, pairing them together, right? Because Miss Marvel is going to, whatever Marvel.
Yep.
I think that's the plan.
Miss Marvel is going to have a show, and then that's going to lead into the Marvels.
Then it's Guardians 3 in 2023, and Quantumania in 2023, and eventually a Fantastic Four movie, and eventually a
X-Men.
Blade.
Yeah, the other part of this exercise that we could do is the non-MCU ones, as Josh mentions.
I
actually kind of agree. I think Ghost Rider got shit on unnecessarily. Not that I'm saying it's great.
It killed me that Nick Cage didn't get his own abs. It just, I know it's small.
Yeah, but we could bring in the Fantastic Four. That would be fun. Like you think Incredible Hulk scores low on this list? It's down there at the bottom. Well, that's not as low as the scale can go. I can assure you of that.
So the shows are Moon Knight, She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, Secret Invasion this year, and then Ironheart, Armor Wars, which is the Wakanda show.
No, Armor Wars is the...
Oh, sorry, Armor Wars and a series set in Wakanda. Armor Wars is that, what's his face?
Skrulls is the Secret Wars.
And Rhodes is probably the lead of Armor Wars, right? Is it
the Rhodes?
Rhodes.
Rhodes and Ironheart, the chick who's.
So Ironheart gets her own show, and then it leads into a second show.
Yeah.
Well, she's actually going to get introduced allegedly in either the Wakanda movie or the Wakanda TV show. I forget which one.
That's a mess.
So there are plenty of people who would already argue we've passed the point of saturation. We're going to put that to the test real bad in the next 24 months.
Especially when you get the Law and Order procedural that She-Hulk's supposed to be.
I don't.
She's a lawyer.
It's just
Yeah,
6
that's what she does.
completely separate episodes.
done.
Just Jenny on the block.
Different case.
She does a case in trial, like in the courtroom, and then she picks up a car, and then
Uh-huh.
that's the episode.
Yeah, I really wanted Hawkeye to be better, so I'm a little bit. It's too bad that that's the taste that's in my mouth right now.
Yeah.
It was not terrible, but it wasn't as good as it should have
And
been.
look, we love the series, so I'm not that worried. It's just at a certain point, it's like, are you spreading things too thin or too quickly? That's all. And
Just
I
hit
guess we'll see.
reset. Just start all over.
I'll say I'm still looking forward to everything that they're doing.
Oh.
So,
Looking forward to getting disappointed.
They had a chance to reset, and they've already gone past that now.
Should
oh,
reset.
eventually they'll reset, but we don't need to reset for like another 10 years
Yeah,
at
reset
least. No way.
No, they'll do it
We
after.
don't even have X-Men or Fantastic Four yet.
Yeah, and when you reset, you just start with those.
No.
Have they talked about a phase 3?
No. Well,
Have they even mentioned like
Phase.
it's out there in the 2029 realm that there's
well,
some
phase 4.
some endpoint
Phase
of
5.
No, that they have not. They're like, we have X-Men. We're gonna do it.
Hmm.
They haven't talked about how
Oh
yet.
yeah, I guess the Eternals does tease Blade in a way, and another different character at the very end of that movie.
It does
as well.
tease
You know
Blade.
what? They're
And,
also
Black Knight.
Yep.
they're smart to keep Fantastic Four out as long as possible because then you introduce a villain that kind of fucks up the whole universe if you're not
It
careful.
depends on
Uh-huh.
which villain you.
Well, there's
introduce.
only one in particular that brings the Silver Surfer along with him, and
Well, the
eats
Silver
worlds.
Surfer is fantastic.
so when you want to clean up the mess that you make from creating a multiverse, you bring in Galactus, and you solve that fucking problem really quickly.
Snap it away.
That's my fear though. Is Ultimate Comics right? Is like we're doing our whole new universe and it's all the same, and they're like, however many years later, like okay, we need to have an event that erases all of this. And I'm like, well, then maybe you shouldn't have done it in the first place. But
Yeah.
we'll see.
Because how can you do a small scale story like, say, the first Ant-Man, like we talked about? The stakes are relatively small for that. Joke. When now you have Galactus prowling around, like you can't do that.
I've also had a thought of like, how much does this universe suck in to live? Like, I mean, our world, the real world, yeah, we have our problems, but like this, it got blipped.
Well,
It's been Galactus. It's been
They pitched the show right where it was the cleanup crew that was gonna be like an ABC show, and they were gonna pitch the show where the people have to clean up all the fucking messes they make over and over again.
yeah.
And
well,
then they definitely didn't pick that show up.
They didn't. And also, like, just the fear that you'd be in at all times in this world.
Yeah.
Like, what's going to happen next?
Go live in
I
New
have a
Mexico. Oh wait, Thor landed there.
Yeah, you
Fuck.
can't, there's nowhere safe. Yeah.
I had a hard time with the idea of what does life even mean? Everyone disappeared for years.
Yeah.
What does it matter?
Well, the good news is there are a couple of movies and a TV show that touch on that if you like that type of thing. So they do go into it somewhat. I would actually argue there's a lot more room for storytelling in that world, but we've kind of passed it now. So,
WandaVision had a shot, and it kind of
I don't think it really nailed it.
jumped over it a little bit.
I'm just really quick. 11, 12. I'm counting all the movies, 13, that had world-ending stakes. And I'm being generous. There's some that you could stretch out and say maybe 13, 14, 15. I'm counting 15.
Well, if that's just give or take, that's more
Did you
than
count
half.
First Avenger?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, because,
Mhm.
you know, if
There-
Hitler
it
wins,
could've.
that's bad news.
Yeah. It's not the same as some of the other ones, but it's still in that category, I think.
I didn't count like Incredible Hulk, where it's like if Hulk doesn't beat this abomination thing, like what's gonna stop this thing?
Guns.
No, that's no.
I mean, I don't
Shoot
know.
him into space.
Well, he's not that scary anymore. You know,
Well,
he's
yeah,
hanging
but at
out
the
in a
time-
fight club in China.
He
So-
got
Spoilers.
what do you call it, like power scale? He got power scaled
Yeah.
out of the
Yeah,
top
he
two.
did.
He was the RPG boss that joined the party.
Yeah,
You hate to see it. He had 150,000 health. Now he has 8,000. What the fuck?
yeah, exactly.
What the hell is that? So, Dave, we saved you 10 out of 27 movies, and we saved you, again, if you and Courtney really get into it, maybe you end up watching all of them, but that is, to me, I think, that's a pretty good end result. There's not a ton. I think Sean would quibble with one or two.
Probably Doctor Strange, and I don't even love Doctor Strange.
And you'll notice it's not that far off from that tier. It's just, it didn't quite make the cut. It was beyond the halfway point, so...
So, Dave, what?
Takeaways and impressions.
I
What do
want
you
you to
think?
have
See, the
Talking
takeaway
point
is
two.
that this was the best character.
Yeah, that's true.
I said we're not supposed to try and influence that
Oh,
before
yeah,
he watches
sorry.
the movies.
It's-
No,
we
no.
don't know who
The
best
list is
character
influencing him.
Who is it?
Let's see who was in that movie and that movie and that movie and that movie and technically also in Ragnarok.
Not in Guardians of the Galaxy,
No,
though.
it was in. No, wait. Oh no, he
No.
does that impersonation.
Yeah,
in crap
in two.
World. Or,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Alrighty.
So, Dave,
Impressed
when are
Dan.
you gonna start?
next weekend.
Great.
Hopefully.
Are
I don't
you
know.
here with us?
No, the weekend after.
Oh.
That, when I
Are you
get
going to
home.
make him do it in chronological order of release?
think you
or
should.
Of universe, and while
Yeah,
jumping
that-
over stuff.
That was. Oh, I mean, the idea was watching in chronological order and skipping the ones that are in the not
Well,
yet.
Dave, we'll do a movie night when you visit, and we'll watch one of them.
But that means I have to start with an Iron Man. I don't.
You've
know
already
that-
watched Iron Man, I thought.
Well, I know, but I'm thinking of my wife too.
Oh, well, great. Watch Iron Man. I love it. I'll watch it again. It's great.
Yeah, Cody won't be here. Fuck him.
We'll invite Cody. He'll trash it the whole time. It'll be great.
I don't want to watch that shit.
Impressions are, I'm glad you saved me literally a day of watching movies by cutting out 10 of them.
Yeah, we only kept 60%. That's just a little bit more than Thanos.
We did it for you, Dave.
Practically perfect. Perfectly balanced. All right, that's the end of the episode. We've already run long. Thank you for watching. Please enjoy our definitive tier list. There are no discussions in the margins. We will see you next week. Who knows? There's a Suns check-in that has to happen at some point. We're past the halfway point. The All-Star break's approaching. I want to talk about the Raptor. I want to talk about Russell Westbrook.
I also want to do more tournaments.
We'll let it
Whether
breathe
it's
for a
food
couple
or
weeks,
ice
but
cream
we
or
will.
anything.
One natural follow-up is going to be sit-down restaurants. We did fast food. There's going to be easily a 32-team bracket to fill out for sit-down
I like it.
restaurants.
I like it.
That'll
Cool.
probably happen sometime in February is my guess. But we will be back next week with a regular episode. In between shows, you can find us at our website, objectionnetwork.com, or at youtube.com/objectionnetwork for new videos 7 days a week. It's true. It is happening again. Shut up.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
See you next time.